Hey everyone, before we start the show, I just wanted to give a quick announcement. 2Dtron is trying to collect images of all the RB5 characters. So on the character screen, when you click on the character, if you have an RB5, please send it to 2Dtron. And if you are an owl, he already has all of yours. Thank you very much. Welcome to WROL Broadcast. I am Hate Mail. With me today I have Bizarro.
Terrible to be here.
We are talking about raids, doing a short recap, just kind of chat about it. There was a little bit of controversy about this one. I saw it's very mixed. I heard everything from this was my favorite raid ever and to I'm mad because I didn't make it to Blue Flash,
hmm
too much grinding, yada 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 yada. So overall, what was your opinion? Just your initial thoughts, and I know you have a topic you want to get into, but we'll kind of stay positive other than your just initial thoughts.
Well, I'm still trying to figure out what I think of this raid. My alliance is going to have to do some strategizing and changing of the way we were doing things.
How did you guys
But
end up?
sixth, we
Oh, okay.
ended up sixth.
That's not bad. You made top 10.
We've started to take the logic that 10th is the same as second.
It really
Which,
is.
we put ourselves on the map with the second place finish in one of the first few raids, but now, to grind and grind and grind, we just figure 10th is the same as second.
Yeah, because, we'll make it very painful if you want first. So,
Yeah, I know that. I
as
saw
as
that.
was evidenced by our 2 billion score this time, which
Yeah, welcome to the 2 billion club. I thought it was like a few raids ago, I thought a billion was like, wow, and I think the Owls and us at the time were the only billion club members. And now that might be the new norm.
I think a billion is definitely the new norm. And the sick members that I have in my alliance are trying to figure out how we could get to 3 billion next time.
Yeah,
So,
wow.
but we have a lot of psycho members. I'm not quite as enthused about that as others, but I actually didn't like this one as much. I mean, well, it's fun. I actually did enjoy fighting against NWO, and I got to give them some mad props for
Yeah,
how well they did because we kind of we had a lead and we're like, okay, let's get our 500 million, let's relax a little, we'll push if we need to push, and then NWO just, I mean, it was like 100 million every 45 minutes, and I'm like, oh my God, these guys are flying.
yeah.
And so we're like, go, go, and that part of it's fun, the coordination, everybody, all right, you go, I'm gonna take a break, everybody else jump in,
Yeah.
push. And so that part of it was kind of fun, but it, yeah, it gets a little crazy. I mean, it's so mindless.
The other thing that I noticed that changed is it seemed like you could start off raids at 1x against the boss and do just fine in terms of going up the ladder. And then I noticed a change to 3x, and now it seems like you got to start right off at 5x and be wiping them left and right if you want to get up there quickly. So we're going to make changes in terms of that. But the game is changing, that's for sure, to quote Tron, I guess.
Yeah. So, what did you notice about like, with the bosses and the teams? How did you think these? Some bosses are easier than others. Some take longer than others. What did you think about these?
So I was doing pretty well against the mystical legendary boss because I could do 3 rounds and I would get more than 150 million. So that would guarantee me the MVP. And so it seemed like not a lot of work to be able to get a lot of points, which allowed me to actually hit the 500 million mark this time.
I felt like
There's
it went
something,
so fast for 500 million this time.
yeah,
Faster than
yeah.
ever.
There's something about being a leader of an alliance. I feel guilty every time I'm doing my solos. It's like if I'm not attacking the alliance boss, I'm sitting there feeling like I need to be doing it. So every few raids, I'll do the 500 million as a sort of reward to myself to say, all right, you deserve it this time.
Yeah, we're pretty good. We make sure everybody always gets anybody who wants it, which I don't know if there was any owls that didn't do the 500 million this time, but
Hmm.
we try to budget time for some people to spin off and do their 500 million, but I just felt like this one went really quick. But the teams were fast. What teams were you using against the bosses for this one?
For the blue legendary, I was using Atrocitus, Metallo, World's Greatest Detective, and Riddler. And my Riddler's really low level, but luckily because Brainiac doesn't have an AoE, and plus Metallo's taunting, I could protect my Riddler, get the agility downs, and I was doing like 50 million a round against the blue.
Yeah, I actually did the big bosses because it went so fast and I could always do
Hmm.
it in two attacks and not lose. But it helped. I have a rebirth Metallo, and I would just
Mm.
run him solo, and he would get like 68 million.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Wow. That's a good idea. I didn't think of that.
and then for everybody else, I just ran Lex plus Hippo.
Yeah, because you're getting all the strength ups from every time Metallo gets hit.
Yeah, and he just slammed.
That
So,
makes sense.
but I think she's gonna be a raid MVP probably in future raids as well because she's amazing with those call assists, and then she gives she gives both intellect and strength up. She seems to cycle, but with Lex, she just kept calling his assist. He uses basic. I didn't. I would average like 60 million attack. I think with those two,
Mm.
like 50 to 60 million. But the guys in
Wow.
my alliance that have a lot of people have them high rebirth 4 and 5. They would get like 80, 90 million.
Yeah, I don't have my hippo, which every time I say hippo, I think of Hungry Hungry Hippos.
I mean,
My alliance mate said he thinks of King Hippo from Punch Out, but I don't have her leveled up, so I didn't get the chance to really do that combo. I was throwing in Swamp Thing only because he puts on a lot of crit chance ups, and so I was using Lex. Let's see, Lex, Arcus, Martian Manhunter, and Swamp Thing, and I was doing fairly decent damage with that.
Arcus is just, I mean, it's so amazing how much damage he does, even when he's not a bonus tune. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
ridiculous.
I think Hippo, Atrocitus, Steppenwolf, they're some of the ones, like if you're a newer player and you're thinking about who do I want to gear for raids, I think those are the ones that you want to do because they have value in every raid.
Yeah. Harley Quinn quite vexing too. She's really good.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I use her every now and again. She depends on the raid for her, but she's pretty
Are
good.
you using Riddler?
I didn't for this one. It just didn't like none of the teams. It seemed like it was faster. I know some people told me they use Lex. Some people outside of Owls were telling me they were using Lex, Hippo, and Swamp Thing, but I didn't find that to be as good as just Lex and Hippo solo.
Right.
I mean, it was close, but it just seemed to be a little bit less. But if you were missing if you were missing Hippo, yeah, Swamp Thing was a really good replacement. But it was amazing, and I will kind of get into your topic now a little bit. I couldn't believe. I mean, I had 543 million, and the only reason I was that high is because I realized right before rollover, about an hour before rollover, I'm such an idiot, and never farmed my materials for Artemis and Cersei, who I was planning on taking the legendary one out of the gate. And I was like, yeah, I don't have enough materials for them. Usually I have more than enough when I just do one
Mm-hmm.
character each month without having to really farm. But with two characters that quick, I needed to farm them. So then I had to spawn a bunch of bosses. So I just shared them all and got another quite a few million from it. But I didn't even make top 100 at 543 million,
Yeah, I didn't either. I think I was like 128, something like that.
which is crazy. I mean, that's a
It is
lot of.
crazy.
So I think over. I can't remember what it was, but somebody said it was like 168 or 200 something people got over 500 million this time.
For me, as far as I know, that's the highest number I've ever seen get it.
Oh, by far. Which you had an issue with the raid packs. Share with me what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, so let me start off with the positive, which is there's no doubt to me that the raid packs are the best value in the game for what you get for $5. and what you get as a return on your investment for that $5. But at the same time, they increased the number of packs to 10, which means that everybody had more resources this time to work with, which means that something that was already a big grind seems to now be an even bigger grind, both in terms of raid and alliance bosses. And for me, that's a little frustrating because, how much can we, for me as an alliance leader, how much can I demand out of my guys for alliance boss attacks while still maintaining their ability to do solos? Because, not everybody on my team is a high level player. So I'm curious what you think, what others think about moving up to 10, because although it's a good value, there's also such thing as too much of anything is no good.
I would say for us, we see it as a net positive because last raids it was exactly the same thing. They just were $10 a piece instead. Isn't
Hmm.
that correct?
Right.
And I didn't feel like the numbers were that much more inflated than they normally are. But remember, the last two raids were inflated not just because of possibly more energy, but because most people are either working from home or aren't working at all right now.
That's
So
true.
that
Although I would argue that in terms of the last raid, perhaps because there was more confusion around the pack cost, that we didn't see the real impact until this raid because they sort of messed up the cost, and I think maybe it wasn't even there at first or something. So I don't know if last raid is a true indicator as much as this one.
I see the only thing difference is though is that and you probably remember this from when you pushed hard at second and got over a billion, it doesn't really matter how much energy you have. You're going to buy whatever it takes.
Right.
So for us, we don't look at it as it even matters. I mean, a lot of us buy Alliance energy with gems, quite a bit of it, because we know we're going to get that reimbursement anyway. And we don't care as much about the gem payout. While that's nice, we're doing it for the rebirth crystals.
Right. Well, I think I was able to when I would buy the 5 packs. I figured it was $25, and it's pretty much all I spend on the game, and it was always enough to get me by. But now it seems like that new normal is going to be to have to buy all 10, and that's the part. And it's not just the financial aspect. I can afford $50. It's just I don't know if I want to grind that hard. I really don't. And I don't know how others are going to. And I mean, it'd be great to see what the comments are for this video, but I don't know if they're going to want to do that either. But
I
maybe I'm wrong.
I think there were other factors though. I think next raid will be a lot more telling, but I think there was three things at play this time. One, quarantine and working from
Hmm.
home. That just lent
I agree
people
with
have more
that.
time. So, and it was a holiday week, Memorial Day week, so a lot of people took that week off. I actually prefer to be working during it because I can just mindlessly tap in the background. I was actually off, so it made it more challenging for me than it usually would.
Yeah,
And my wife was off as well, so she was, this was the most evil eye I'd gotten during a raid
you got the
ever.
stink eye.
Yeah. So this one was pretty bad for that aspect. And then secondly, remember the skin. Everybody wanted that blue flash skin. And
Yeah.
then I think a lot of people realized they were going to have to get very high, like once they saw the numbers inflating, and they're like, well, I'm not that far from my 500 million. I might as well keep going.
I wouldn't deny any of those things. I agree with all those. The only thing, and I'm never a guy that, one data point makes a trend. But I'll be interested to see how it goes in the future with more packs available. But I'm hoping this is not the new norm because, there comes an extent where, the grind is just too much. And actually, if you don't mind, like it kind of leads me to another point that I'm a little concerned about is because I wonder, I've started to wonder about what I'm getting on my return. So for instance, I have literally, this is not an exaggeration, I have 10,000 level 4 XP in my bank because I can't get enough green essence to use it all. And so I'm sitting there staring at this gigantic stack thinking, well, if I can't really use this, what's the point in farming all of it? And it makes the return a little bit less valuable than it would be.
Hmm. Yeah, see, green essence isn't an issue. I've kind of been stable around 400 million right now, but I tend to gain like 10 to 20 million a month excess.
Right. Well, you don't have as many characters you have to build up in a given month
Yeah,
because
I only ever have to
you've
do two.
completed your most of your roster.
Yeah.
I mean, I see a lot of the two biggest gates I see people complain about are blue rings and now green essence. And it's funny because I can remember when everybody used to say, "What am I going to do with all this green essence?" And
Yeah,
now
there's
it's the
different
complete
breaking points with
opposite.
that where you're short or you have too much, then you're short, and then you have too much again. And then eventually you'll have more than you ever. The only thing I'm ever short on, like I ever have to farm, is blue rings. Even that is minimal when you only have to do
Mhm.
two characters a month, but they'll eventually
Yeah,
drop gear 12 or something on us, I would assume. Eventually. I don't know when, but eventually. I mean, it could be 2 years from now, but it will eventually happen. And they'll burn up resources.
I just hope if they're listening that they open the gates just a little with green essence because it's frustrating to get all those resources and then not be able to use them. I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do with 10,000 level 4 gray XP that I can't use.
Well, I think a lot of people, and if you want to farm bosses fast, you do it on chapter one, the end, the last node of chapter one, and just do
Hmm.
it over and over. But back when I needed XP essence and green essence, I used to only farm chapter eight. Like I would do everything in chapter eight. And granted, I know
On the
that gets
normal
cost.
mode.
Normal or heroic. Like my back in the day, my normal alliance day was farm chapter eight heroic 3 times.
Right.
I mean, granted, that's really expensive. So, but
Yeah, it is.
even if you're paying double the cost, just for example, and this may be if you're willing to shell out a little bit. Um, chapter eight normal is what is it 10 energy to farm it,
For the normal mode, yeah, it's 10.
and then chapter one normal is only 5. So you're only, I mean, it's only double the cost, but you're getting 10 times the resources.
True.
So I would think, maybe spend a little bit more and get actually, green essence that you're going to need. Because I mean, if you do it 3 times, I'll do it real quick because I have 30 energy in front of me. You get 55,000 green essence.
Well, when I look at the cost, because using the gray XP costs more green than if you're using the appropriate color for the affinity of the character. And so it gets costly, even if you're farming. Because I mean, I'm farming green essence most all the time, and I can't keep up.
Yeah,
And I'm glad to see like they up the amount on the void scanner, they up the amount on the red alerts, and I think they just need to keep spreading the love into a lot of the nodes that exist if they're not going to create new nodes, just to make it a little bit easier to use some of these resources that we're gaining.
yeah, and I know a lot of people in a lot of alliances will farm to try to get their alliance points. They'll just farm chapter one or chapter two, and I think it in the long run it costs you more because
Yeah,
you're better off spending a little extra gems on doing the chapter eight because you're going to get the better resources, and then you don't have to buy them later.
yeah, that makes sense. So I didn't mean to get us too far off
Yeah,
track, but I mean, I just, it was, I'm sitting there looking at my rewards. I'm like, man, 10,000 of these? That's insane.
I mean they help. Like I think that's part of why I don't have to ever farm XP mats or anything.
Yeah. So who did you think was the MVP this raid?
Oh, by far. Well, I mean, I guess you could say Lex, but I would say by far Hippo, just because she, she just did so much for. But that's that combo that worked so well. I used it on. I mean, I even used it against the red bosses. It didn't matter,
Right.
and I think that's why it was so fast because you could just easily you just fill 20 bosses and you just go down the list, same team, and they would clear it in one go. And the thing is, it was a lot faster because a lot of times, I mean, if you're doing the 3x against the team, you only have like 30 seconds left. On this one, you had like over a minute left most of the time.
Yeah,
So I think that's part of why it went so fast. I think that's part of why it was so expensive because people could do it faster.
that's true. And well, I mean, and if that continues, I mean, Hippo's obviously going to be a bonus tune this coming month. So, and she wasn't even a bonus tune this time.
No, she was
So
just
as a
regular.
bonus tune, it'll even be better.
Yeah, I would assume she's going to be. I mean, can you imagine if she was an X5? She'd be ridiculous.
Oh man.
I mean, I already have guys
I
in my
did have a
alliance
lot of love
favoriting
for
her.
Lex
So,
this event, though. He was my big damage dealer, being I didn't have Hippo leveled up. So, um, but that's my only other frustration because I do enjoy raids overall. Is I do wish they'd pay more attention to who they're picking across the board for some of these bonus tunes because you either run into a situation where like in the case of the Mystics this time, there's no real heavy damage dealer, or relying too heavily on bleed characters.
yeah.
Um, so I hope they'll pay a little bit more attention to who they're picking.
But what did you think? Did you get the blue flash skin?
I did.
What
I
do you
think it
think
looks really good.
Yeah, I love it.
It might
Um,
be their best one so far.
it was fantastic. They outdid themselves with skins this month. I really hope they continue this trend.
I do too. I hate to rub it in the face of anyone who didn't get it because it really is a nice looking skin. And I like the President Luthor one too. That one looks really nice.
Oh, I love the President Luther. I love it.
That's actually the first pay one that I paid for. I didn't pay for any other ones that they had available. So that, to me, that shows how much I think they did a nice job on it. And I'm willing to reward that when they do that. And I think the price that they arrived at was very fair too.
What do you think about, and this was a hot topic on Reddit, people saying that skins they should lower the threshold to like the top 1,000 or 750, and that they should sell the skin after the raid. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll do the second one first because I think that's the easier one. I don't like the idea of selling it right after the raid because that's pretty much a Martian Manhunter situation. Um, I, and for the first question, I'd have to see, does this trend continue of inflated scores? And if it does, then I would be in favor of changing the threshold. And if not, then, and it returns back to normal, then I think it's a good threshold.
My thoughts on it is skins are cosmetic only. So if the game wants to drive revenue, I would think skins are a palatable thing for especially the free to play because you don't need it. You don't need it to win, you don't need it to advance your roster. It's just purely cosmetic. So if they're going to make anything exclusive, I would think that would be the preferred item instead of giving, some item that's just going to make other players even more powerful than they already are.
Right.
And then
But
like you
there's
said
still
with
something to be said for the exclusivity of being able to own it because you put in the work to earn it.
right. And that's why, I mean, top 500 is pretty reasonable, I think. It's not that hard to get the top 500 if you have a reasonably geared roster. Like, I mean, the cutoff for top 500, I think, was, I don't know exactly what it was, but I want to say it was just over 200 million.
I know we had a lot of guys who just barely missed it in my alliance.
What
They
were
were
they?
all they were all hoping that enough cheaters would get eliminated to move into the top 500, but they were like 520, 518, and they had put in a lot of work.
Do you know what their score was at around?
I don't. I'd have to go look.
I was just curious what the actual cutoff was for it. I saw a
I
lot
give
of complaints
myself
about it.
48 hours before I enter the final scores because otherwise my brain is just fried from the
Yeah,
raid.
I hate the siege starts immediately after.
Oh God,
I
yeah.
wish just give me one day, if anything.
Yeah, I agree. Starting on a Monday would be nice. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Because you're exhausted. I mean, by the time this is over, everybody just wants a breather. And in fact, in my alliance, we give everybody the night off from heroic points. So, because you need a break.
Yeah, you really do. But with that, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, nothing I can think of. Appreciate you having me on.
Hey, no problem. We will, we've been pumping out content, so this might be the last podcast for a couple days, week. So I'm gonna need to take a break from DC Legends after this. So. All right, everybody. If you missed the Cersei and Artemis gameplay, it is on YouTube if you're listening to audio only. We did a live stream for both of them at Legendary. They look like awesome characters this month, so be sure to check it out.
Hi, This is Renee Sylvia 88, DC Legends moderator. Thank you for listening to this episode of WROL Broadcast. If you like this show, please check out patreon.com/WROL Broadcast and find out how to get cool perks. We all know what happens if loot gets quarantined. It's raining gems, baby!